Hey, everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station Travel Show. It is Wednesday. It is the third Wednesday, which means we're going to chat with Cheryl Ogle. She is the owner of Hey Wanna Go Travel. She's a world traveler, a travel advisor, and she really knows all about traveling in Europe, the UK, and river and ocean cruises. She goes all over the place and really specializes in helping our clients with those. When you're really going to have like a major experience, like traveling through Europe, going on a big cruise, she's someone you want to call. So I encourage you to go to her website, and she's got a great blog on there. Her website is heywannago.com. And today she's joining us to talk about one of her most favorite cities, which is London. And
Yay.
she's been there a lot of times. So welcome back, Cheryl. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. How are y'all?
Doing good, doing good. Enjoying the summer heat and all the storms that it comes with it. But
Oh,
you know how we travel around, and every place is a new experience, and that's the same thing in no matter where you're traveling, right? Be prepared for
yes,
anything interesting that can happen. But London,
absolutely.
I think a lot of times people will shy away from big cities because it is
Yes,
like, I don't know, it's like a big maze. I'm scared, like New York City, and so
right.
London and LA. But from our experience, like I'm not a huge city person, but once I get in it, like San Francisco, I start to realize that it's a city with a bunch of neighborhoods within the city. Like it's a bunch
Right.
of suburbs, like it is neighborhoods, right? And is
Yes.
London like that, would you say?
Yes, I do look at it like that. And you know what's funny was the first time I went, I didn't think I was going to like it because I was told I wouldn't like it. And I
Hmm.
don't consider myself a city person, but I'm also not a country person. But I went, and as soon as I started seeing the old buildings, and I looked up and someone said, "There, that's Big Ben." And it was like, wait, that's the Big Ben? And I was just enchanted. And I love it. Um, but it makes me feel, and this is so funny, living in Lubbock, Texas, small town Texas, it makes me feel so cosmopolitan when I visit London because I can get
Mhm.
around on the tube. I know where I'm going. I know the directions. I feel confident there. And that surprises me as well, which sounds kind of strange. But there's so much to do. It's one of
Mm.
these cities you could spend a year in and not see all the art or take all the little day trips. And to me, that
Yeah.
it holds so much value because there's something for everyone.
And you fly right into London, basically. That
Yes.
when you get to England, that's, Gatwick or Heathrow. And, I've been to London as a kid because that's where you always landed, when we
Mhm.
moved there and visited. And it was like, wow, this is London. Yeah, we do have the
Right.
London's Calling from the Clash still singing in the back of my head. I can't stop that thanks to your blog. But yeah, I mean, London it's such a huge thing, I think, even for students to go over. That's one of those cities when when you're in college or getting out of college or before, when you go on those trips to kind of get to know who you are and do some exploring. I think London
Mhm.
is one because of not only this really rich history, but also the cultural history, Shakespeare and things like that. There's the entertainment side, which I know you love. And if Rod Stewart's there, she's flying to London, period. That's it. Off goes Cheryl.
Yeah.
But historically, I think just the theater and everything there has been of of major note for the rest of the world, you know?
Yes. Well, I mean, I'll go anywhere for Rod Stewart. I just saw him twice last week. But London, I mean, I was in London and just on a whim back in April, went and saw Elton John at the O2 on his farewell tour, one of his last handful of shows.
Wow.
And so the entertainment that comes to London is just phenomenal. And then they have their West End. And so you've got their version of their Broadway shows, which are phenomenal. So the entertainment, I go when I'm there, I try to see a different show every night if I can.
Well,
Sometimes a matinee too. If I'm traveling solo, I might go see a matinee, and
mm.
why not?
What's interesting, you talk about in your blog too, and everyone, we've got photos, we've got so much, and we'll put the link to it in the show notes. You talk about the West End, right? And you say you always suggest Agatha Christie's The Mousetrap. Now, that's
Yes.
so amazing because when you think about England and TV and books and literature, the murder mystery, like England, listen, and character acting, like they know how to do the nitty gritty of gossip and drama. They really do. I mean, to me,
Yes.
like you put on BritBox and I will not work for a week. That's it. I'm out. I'm sucked into the tube, literally a different tube. But
Yeah.
I think when you have something like Agatha Christie, and that's something you can recommend because you're saying it's like the longest continually running show. I had no
Yes.
idea about that. That's
Yes.
amazing.
And it's fun because it is so British. It's
Mm.
just, and then they tell you at the end when they reveal who done it. I can't tell you because I'd have to kill you, but you can't share that. So you kind of all make a little pledge that I won't tell anyone the ending. And truth be known, I've already forgotten it. But you don't share that with people. So you have to go experience it for yourself. The theater is quite small and quaint, and it's
Mhm.
just a lot of fun. So I think it's an important show to go see at least one time, twice if you want to try to remember the ending. But I don't remember anything. So
Mm.
for entertainment. So it it's different. It's something different to go see.
So what about, you've got the entertainment, but obviously the history and the museums, and something in your blog I didn't know either was that the museums are free. I
Yes.
had no clue. Well, that's because taxes are high in England. I'm just gonna say. I
Right.
remember that about living there. You're
Yes.
you're paying a lot, but I mean, if you get to be able to go to these, institutions of history and culture and get an education and be entertained and learn stuff, I mean, that's that's impressive.
Exactly. And you see school children there because they may be studying one artist and they'll go. And so it's not a big expense to the school.
Mm.
Here you want to go to a museum, you're paying 15, 30, $40 a person to get in. And so even if you don't like the museum, you feel like, well, I've spent 30 or $40. I have to stay until noon and get my money's worth. There you don't have to. You can say, you know what, I just want to go look at the Monets, and that's all I'm going to see today, and you can leave.
Mm.
So go look at what you want to plan ahead. You don't have to get your money's worth, quote unquote. Go and enjoy
Mm.
it in small chunks because there's so much. I was in the V&A museum about a year ago, and it goes on forever, forever and ever and ever. And I wandered around for a couple of hours and thought, I'm good. I'm not going to see it all. I've got to just take a small chunk and I'll be back.
Oh, that's,
Um,
you know what? But that's really true because, we've talked on this, about this on shows before that you'll go and, hey, I'm going here. Well, I need to do every square inch and you're exhausted. You're not even taking it in anymore. I don't
right.
even, you cannot enjoy your vacation. You know, your vacation is supposed to still be fun, even if you're doing these, most important places. There's only so much you can really take in as a human being without stopping for tea or a local, you know, brew in the pub, the local
Right.
pubs, you know. So yeah, it's true. If you want to just go see Monet, I'm in. I want to see that. But these museums that you're talking about, these are some really iconic ones. And yeah, you're right. You could go in and out and choose what you want for when, and that's really special. So you could be able to do more than one museum as well when you're there.
Absolutely. And some of them are close to each other in proximity. And so I wandered through the V&A for a little while, and then I went over to the Science Museum and enjoyed that for about an hour, went and had lunch. And I think I went on to the Natural History Museum from there. But I saw what I wanted to see. Um,
Mm.
another one that is kind of an interesting thing is the British Library. And they house the Magna Carta.
Oh, wow.
And while I had read about the Magna Carta and learned about it in school, to stand there and it's like, wait, is this the real Magna Carta? I mean, it's phenomenal. So
Yeah.
there's just such treasures there. Um, I can't, it's hard to explain really, but there's so much value in there. And I hear people say, I've been to London, I hate it. It's a big city that has nothing for me. And that's fine. To each his own. I respectfully disagree with that because I really do feel like there's something for everyone. But
Mm.
some people really they can't handle the crowds or the frustration in trying to get around, or that kind of thing. They don't want to learn the tube. And so it can be hard. It's not for everyone.
Yeah.
I happen to love it. But you can do day trips. You can go out to Hampton Court Palace. It's a 40-minute ride, or train ride. Um, and it's super easy. And they filmed part of Bridgerton out there. Henry VIII lived there. So there's a lot of things you can go do, and you feel like you're out of the city and you're just 40 minutes away.
Mm,
So I love it for
yeah.
that. If you want to go to Stonehenge, you can do that in about a 6 hour day and be back to London by mid-afternoon. And Stonehenge is really important for a lot of people.
Oh, it is. It is. And when you say that too about going out for a 6 hour day, like in American standards, that's a normal thing. We're used
Right.
to long distances. In England, it's like, oh, it's a 3 hour drive. I don't know. You know, it's a little different.
Yeah.
What about, you talk about the tube, but do you have to, I think a lot of people are always like, oh, going from the States to England or other countries in Europe, I'm going to have to drive on the other side of the road. So I know you can rent a car and do that kind of thing
Mhm.
and get familiar, but is there good enough transportation? I always thought England was like the epitome of public transportation. I mean, obviously you have to go on a double decker bus. I think that's iconic, right? You've got to be on the double decker bus and you must go to the top. You can't just always be at the bottom. You must get to the top. Just when I was a kid, I mean, I did that and was like, I'm on a double decker bus. Those things are like, you got to go to the phone booth if you see one. You have
Right.
to. You
Right.
must. And otherwise, don't ever call me again. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But there's some iconic things. But
Yes.
what about going out far? Like you're saying, do you have Ubers out? Like what would you say about public transportation?
Well, it just makes it easy to get around. With the buses, the traffic in London's rough. And so whether you're in a bus, a black taxi, an Uber, or whatever your choice, there is a lot of traffic. So if you can manage the underground, it's easier because there's no traffic when your story's down under the roads. But you can also use the trains very easily to get out of town, go do an overnight over in Bath, Bristol. There's just a lot of ease in that. If you want to rent a car, you do have to remember, and I have clients say, well, they drive on the wrong side. No, they drive on the other side. It's not wrong.
That that's a
They were
yeah.
they were driving before we were. So, but the equipment on the car, I'm a left-handed person whose brain reads magazines backwards. So I don't think I could do it. And I'm not willing to put others at risk for me to prove it. I think if
Yeah.
I were out in the country and just started on a road with no one, I'd probably be okay. But um, it does take some confidence and a little practice. And I recommend, if you're going to do that, starting in a smaller town. It
Yeah,
opens a lot of doors and lets you wander. And that's true too. If you're going to Ireland or up into Scotland, it's great when you can have a car. But you
mm.
do have to be willing to do that and make sure that you're fully insured, because the last thing you want to do is go and cause an accident for yourself and for others out there.
And be alert and have, if you're with someone that really helps you stay alert because it's so easy to just do what your comfort zone is. I grew up on the other side of the road and, even walking, and crossing the road, you have to look a different way.
Right.
And so, that's the other thing as a pedestrian, you have to be a little bit more alert. And,
Mhm.
I think I told you this when my best friend from high school came over here last year, and she lives in England now, but we graduated together in South Africa. And so she's got a British accent, which we tease her about because she's South African. And
Right.
then, well, she's British, and we found out now she's got barons and all these lords. And, our friend
Oh,
Glenn was dug into some of her family history and sent an
mhm.
email to Nancy and I saying, we need to bow, he has to bow and we have to curtsy to my friend. I'm like, I'm not, what? you know, but anyway, so
That's
anyway,
funny.
I've just seen her and we were, I don't know, maybe we were driving to Lubbock. We were, on the road as we always are.
Yeah.
I took a left turn into oncoming traffic, just
Mm.
totally because we were talking about something about her and seeing her and everything. I went into South African brain and took a left and went I mean I wasn't no one was coming and I managed to get out of that situation. But it was just because my brain went into that mode, and it will do it even with accents and everything. Like, just
Mhm.
now I'll be in a different accent, but um, yeah, if you're not 100% alert, your brain could do what I do. And it's whenever you take a left for some reason, yeah, I go home. But maybe for Americans, if it's turning right, I don't, and now I'm going to get all twirled, but you can get twirled pretty quick. So it is about really, really practicing and being alert, and don't overdrive. Don't drive
Yes.
long, too many hours in a day, because
Right.
it's so easy to slip back to your comfort zone. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying,
Well,
until you get used to
frankly,
it.
I discourage driving quite a bit, and I know a lot of people do want to do a self drive in Scotland and Ireland, and so that I certainly I can book with a lot of warnings, because having a car in Ireland, it opens up so much of just driving around, and you have the freedom to stop in these little towns, and but getting a car in Paris or London and things, it just doesn't always make sense. It most of the time does not make sense. Parking's an issue. Most hotels do not have parking. It's not like here, you pull up at the Marriott and there's plenty of parking. That doesn't
Mm,
happen there. So you may be parked around the corner, and it's just not a simple process. So I discourage it, except for when it absolutely makes sense, when you
mm.
need a little more freedom in smaller areas.
Yeah.
But even walking, and you'll see in the UK, you'll see, especially around London, a lot of signs: look left, look right, and so reminding you to look the other way for traffic. I saw a man almost step off the curb. I mean, his foot was just about to go down, and someone pulled him back. He was looking the wrong way, and
See,
that's scary. That's
that's me.
scary. Yeah, yeah. So I try to be very, very aware. I don't cross against the lights unless a big group of locals are going. Then I'll put myself right in the center of the locals, and say, okay, I feel safe, and go fast. But really follow the lights, follow the instructions, keep yourself safe.
See, when excuse me,
Mhm.
got something in my throat. When we lived in Mexico, I'd always go with the big trucks across the highway. Like if you're crossing a major road,
Mhm.
and there was a bigger van or something next to me, I'm like, I'm going with them. I don't know why. It was like, here, we're having this bigger impact if it's all of us together, you know, because
They'll
it's just,
stop. Well, and I don't do it if cars are coming. That's really if the light seems to be stuck or something, and you think, okay, there is no reason this light is still red. There's nobody here, absolutely nobody. But don't just step out and hope for the best. You don't want to use your travel
yeah.
insurance that my smart clients buy. So
Oh, you're so good at that, reminding people about those things, because really it's peace of mind. It is peace of mind.
yeah.
And yeah, I want to go back to this being like London being just such a culturally diverse city. And that to me is a beauty of certain cities. Like I love going to Orlando. I know there's Disney and Epcot, which that's not my thing for it. It is, and I'll
Mhm.
go and have a good time. But I love going to, they have all these ethnic markets, and they had a place called the Mercado. And I met a bunch of Kenyans there. So I was in like
Oh,
Happy Land, and
oh
could
yeah.
find food that I haven't eaten since I was a kid, and
Hmm.
was reminded of the language, and they were singing songs that I knew from a childhood. And oh my gosh, you know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
like, and I was hearing all these different languages, and I love that about Orlando, because it's such an international city because of Disneyland and everything. You
Hmm.
you can meet people, and you go out to a restaurant, and they're catering to so many different cultures. And I think that's something about London you brought up in your blog, that the cultures, I mean, there's a little bit of every, and you can get some of the best Indian food in England. That, by the way, I'm
Oh, I
just saying.
know. It is amazing. Yeah, you can eat something different every night. If you like pub food and the fish and chips and bangers and mash and all of that, absolutely.
Mm.
Pub food's a great value, but you can find something different. I've had wonderful kebabs and Mediterranean food and Indian food. You don't go hungry in London. The big joke always was when when you visit the United Kingdom, the food's terrible. You're going to lose weight. Well, I don't lose weight when I'm in London. I tell you that. I think the food's incredible, the choices.
Mm.
So
And I think there's a quality to it. There's I think they understand farm to table, and obviously there's
yes.
some of the chain things that are, here's your frozen opportunities. But
Right.
when you start to go for the authentic experience, like I know when you're there, you're going to go to I know mostly you talk about boutique inns and bed and breakfast and that kind of stay, right? So you're getting
Yes.
something authentic. And
Yes.
the same with the restaurants, going in, it's like, oh, we can try this, try that, and get some of those real traditional London or England foods and high teas and all of that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, and you do want to do that. It's like even shepherd's pie. There are days like I
Mhm.
crave that. I miss it. I miss that as being just part of normal dinner. That
Right.
used to be on our menu every week growing up.
You- That's
I,
funny. It was not on ours. And honest to goodness, I am 58 and I have never had shepherd's pie.
okay, when we see you in Lubbock, all right. I think you might. It's got meat in it. You know,
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm good with or without it, but
you're from Texas.
I've never, it wasn't something that we grew up having. And I never made it for my family. I don't know. It's just kind of funny. My dad makes
Huh,
one and he
huh.
talks about it all the time and he tops it with sweet potatoes. And so he's
Oh wow,
always
that's
so
different.
excited when he's making that. I know when he tells me what he's buying at the store, I know what's coming. So he
Wow, that's
makes
a
it.
different.
So I guess he needs to make it when I go to Albuquerque and visit. So
That
he'll
I
be
I say
listening to
he should.
this. So now I know.
Yeah, yeah, no, shepherd's pie is good. And
Yeah.
it's one of those that you even the next day it's even better and you can change up the seasoning. Some people do a little bit more like cardamom and stuff like that in it. It just depends on where you're going in England and who. Because like
Yeah.
you were saying, this cultural diversity is there because it's that big city. Um,
Right.
but you're saying, all these different things you've had, but let's talk about the sticky toffee pudding because I know we always get in trouble talking about sweet things like cake.
Oh, I know. Sticky toffee pudding. The first time I had it was in Liverpool, and I was sharing it with someone. And as soon as I had my first bite, I thought, well, I don't want to share this anymore. And I did. I pretended I was a grown up and stuff, but all I could think about was, how can I make this happen? So when I have something really good when I travel, I go home and immediately try to recreate the recipe. And so I did, and I thought, oh, this is easy to make. And so I made one, and then thought, well, I can't have this around my house. So I called a friend and said, hey, I made sticky toffee pudding. Come pick up the rest of it. And she did. So it's delicious. So it's a pudding is a cake, a dessert there. And so this is really, it's like a little steamed cake that is made
Hmm.
with dates. And they're blended. So if you don't like dates, I don't like dried fruit. But you don't know that. It's soaked in hot water and then blended. And anyway, it's a whole cake thing and served with caramel on top and then usually some ice cream or custard. So everywhere I go, if there's sticky toffee pudding on the menu,
Oh
I
man.
feel like it's just a service I offer.
And it's got like, the date. I forgot about it being date based, but
Mhm,
that brings this earthiness to it. And then the
mhm.
topping. Oh yeah, listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is decadent. It's delicious. You know what I miss is digestive biscuits. I know that's a weird thing to bring up, but everybody would have that afterwards. Like at the
Yeah.
end of meals in England, there was the cheese tray. When did
Mhm.
we have the cheese? Why our country doesn't have cheese trays at night? I
Well,
want a
let's bring it
cheese tray.
back.
Yeah, I want the cheese tray. I don't know if my belly wants it, like really.
Yeah,
Um,
we can make that
I,
happen. Often you'll see that as an option for dessert, though.
yeah, exactly. Do you want a cheese board?
Yeah,
Oh, yes, I
yeah,
do.
go with the cheese board
Yeah,
there.
with a
So,
little
mhm,
sherry or, that kind of thing. And that's the
mhm.
other thing, sherry. Yes. Listen, sherry and brandy was a big deal too, as I recall, but I wasn't, allowed to do that. I was a
Well,
kid
you were
watching
what,
the
6 or
adults.
something? So, yeah,
I was a kid. I was, yeah,
yeah.
eight, I think, I can't remember, but,
Well, and
and
since
I
I
went there as
really,
an adult
yeah,
too, but, it
okay.
was a while ago.
I
Yeah.
I don't drink much, and so there is a cocktail that I have found in London, and it doesn't have the nicest name, so I always kind of blush a little when I order it. But a porn star martini is so good.
Cheryl.
I know, right? anyway, I love that. And it's just better there. And so
That's
I may
funny.
indulge when I'm in
Oh,
London. But
really? So is this a specific place or is this like something that everybody knows about?
I guess everybody knows about it. You'll see it on a
Except
lot
for
of
me.
menus, except for
Yeah.
you. Here, well, it's not called a porn star martini here. Often it's called like a passion martini, okay, because it's passion
Oh, I've
fruit.
had one of the,
Um,
oh, I've
and then
had
it's
that.
yeah,
Oh,
served with a little shot of prosecco, and that's all that
oh,
I'm going to say about it. Because you'll just need to Google it. I can't
oh,
speak more about
I'm
it, or
in.
I'll blush more.
Yeah.
But
Listen, you can call it the porn star martini, but just don't call it the Barbie thing. I'm done with the Barbies. Like, can we just stop with the Barbies?
I didn't
Unless
even
you
get
go
to
to,
have Barbies when I was a kid, so I don't see me picking it up at my age.
I had Barbies when we lived in England and it lasted a month. And everybody, my mom told people, do not give her dolls, do not give her Barbies. She is a tomboy. And then I turned everybody into punks because that was what was going on in England at the time. It was the punk era, and that's what was
Yeah.
around me. And I grew up in Africa with, it was like, oh, we're doing that hairstyle like they did in Africa. Well,
Mhm.
and earrings and like how everything, yeah, yeah. So, because I was always, this is what we have around here. Well, this Barbie doesn't have normal hair. That's not what's going on now. So Barbie got a mohawk. I'm just saying. So anyway, you can have your porn star martini and I'll give Barbie a mohawk. Sounds like a good cocktail
There you
combination,
go.
but you
That's
know,
fair. That's fair for sure.
but
Um,
that's interesting about that. I had a passion fruit martini in Portland at a Peruvian restaurant, and it was with passion fruit juice and it had some habanero or something with it. So it had the spice and the rim was spiced, and
oh,
it was this sweet and spicy, and it was like not over sweet because it was passion fruit, has that balance. It was, and that meal was one of the most, it's weird because I'm not a big foodie, but like when you experience a meal like that, you will never forget it. You will
right.
never, ever forget it. And it was Peruvian, and they had avocado and this um it's quinoa and I don't know, it was this amazing meal with music and it was just, oh, I'm in heaven now. Leave me. I'm good.
Being over
And
hungry.
but that, yeah, it was just this thing. And I think that's something when you go to places like London, have that meal that you don't have at home.
Right,
Don't go to McDonald's in London, really, unless you have to.
right.
Sometimes you do, but you know what I mean? It's doing the real English food if you
Well, that's
can.
it. Have the breakfast, do the full English brekkie. Even if you're not a breakfast person,
Mm.
go do it once. Um, why not? It has the mushrooms, the tomatoes, the
Oh, the
beans.
the fried tomato, that's the only way I really eat tomatoes properly is if
Yeah,
they're like that or spaghetti, right? It's like you have to
yeah.
cook it. That's it. Oh my gosh. Why are we back on food again?
I don't
You
know. I
always do
sorry I
this.
did that. But
Okay, let's go for a
the,
walk.
but
Let's go
they'll
for a walk
also
down. No, go
oh
ahead.
no, it's hot and gross in Lubbock. There's no walking. But there's also the black pudding or the blood pudding
Oh,
that is
yeah.
served with breakfast. Yes, and haggis up in Scotland. So try the unusual things. Take one taste. Don't you're not a 3-year-old. Don't take one taste. Don't turn your nose up and go, I'm not trying that. Try it. You might like it. There are some
Just
things that
try
are
it.
really good. Try it.
Yeah,
Try
you
to
know
find
why?
it.
Even if you don't like it, you go, I don't need to do that again. But now I know what people are talking about, and you have a sense memory of it.
Exactly.
And I think, also for people that are in the arts of writing, if you're a filmmaker, all of that, right?
Mm,
You should try these things so that you have
yes.
it as material. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know, people that I know that write or, authors, they do travel. And so they could say, oh, this, he sat and had some blood pudding. And
Right.
he can write that way and understand what it tasted like or, but
Exactly.
I've
How to
eaten
describe
some,
it. Go ahead.
I've had steak and kidney pie
Yeah.
and I don't need to do it again, but I left certain parts of it and I ate some parts of it, but like
Yeah.
then I discovered Cornish pasties and I'm in love
Mm.
with those. Those
Oh,
are, yeah, yeah, the food thing is, and here's the thing too, shopping in London, England has some of the best sweet shops on the planet. I don't know if America's quite caught up to it. I know we have some amazing, sweet shops, and I have some favorites. But England, and when you go to London, you've got shopping, you've got the world at your fingertips, really, of fashion,
Yes.
of toys. I
Mhm.
remember toy stores as a kid. I mean, maybe it's just because I was, come out of the bush of Africa, and here I am in London going, Mommy, look at toy stores. This thing,
What is
this
this?
really exists. Like, and this is like a palace of fun.
Yeah.
What is it still like that with shopping with really, I don't know, it just
Yes.
makes, even if you're not a shopper, you suddenly want to be a shopper, and you might just, lose your bank account real quick.
The shopping options there are incredible, and you can find discount stores, or you can go wander through Harrods. And the only thing I've ever been able to afford in Harrods has been a little no, I've gotten a couple of handbags there, but I don't know that I could afford them, but I bought them anyway. But Christmas ornaments or a little piece of chocolate. I always take chocolate home to my dad.
Mm.
So Harrods is fun to walk through and see how maybe that 2% live, or 0.5% or something. It's crazy. But there are other chains, there are other independent stores. You can find everything there. And I feel like the prices, not at Harrods, but the prices at other places are very reasonable. So often if I'm going, like I was traveling, when was I there? In April. And so spring, so I went and bought quite a few spring clothes to bring back home. I always bring an extra tote that folds up in my suitcase, then I can open it and have another carry on. Um, so when I go back in, when am I going back? November, and then again in December, I will probably take an extra suitcase and probably plan to purchase my winter coat in London,
Mm.
because
And
they
you
have
can
a better
swap out what's
selection
in
than
your
London.
suitcase. You can
Yeah.
always swap out I mean, really, the thing is, you know, I I mean, you know how we travel. Nancy and I travel and we
Yes.
pets it. So our whole idea of what we used to wear
Hmm.
as business professionals and what we wear today. This is why we're audio today. Thank you very much, because I'm covered in donkey drool. But this
And
is it.
because
We
I got
pets
home
it.
at midnight last night too. So yeah.
Yeah, we're all a happy mess of
Yeah.
travelers, but that's the thing. And really, if you're wearing the ultimate, I mean, maybe when you're going, to the West End or something, there's in a fancy dinner in London, and there's certain times, right? But
Right.
as travelers, especially if it's your first time, just always make sure you have the best shoes. I just want to say this to everybody: just be comfortable and have really good shoes, and a way of layering, and don't overdo what you're taking there, because if you want to buy stuff, you can put it in your suitcase and toss the stuff that is, you've worn for a week,
Well,
that maybe isn't the most important thing.
yes and no to some extent is one thing. I really urge you to not take things. Okay, now I do tell women, travel in your maybe old undergarments that maybe you won't throw away at home, but they could be thrown away, and pitch those. But don't pitch. So there's a big trend in throwing your things away while you're
Oh,
there.
don't ever throw it away.
Don't
Don't throw it
exactly.
away.
Don't Yeah.
No,
Don't
no,
go to
no.
another country with the purpose of throwing your things away.
Mm-mm.
Wash them, have them cleaned, and donate them.
Yeah.
If you I had to leave a pair of boots in England once, and I left a note, and they were in great condition, but I didn't have room for them, and they had to go. And so I left a note for the housekeeping that I am leaving these. I'm donating, because I didn't want them to get in trouble with showing up with, they were brand new
Right.
boots, and have them say, "Wait, did you steal those?" And so room 314, whatever. I am leaving these, donating these. But don't go fill up their landfills with the
Listen,
stuff you need to deal
our
with
our
here.
bed and breakfast friends, whenever we show up, they go, "Hey, here's all the bottles of wine and liquor people have left at the B&B, and we've been saving it for you because we don't." It's like, and there's things that I've never heard of, and I'll look at it. Nancy and I look at it, and Nancy goes, "Oh, come on, let's try it." We live
Right.
once. Let's try it. You know how Nancy.
Heck yeah. Oh
No,
yeah.
don't mess with mom on that. But it's like it is so funny, because there's certain places we go, they're like, "Oh, we've been keeping these for you." And
Right.
we had one friend who had a hotel, and she had a whole, like, you know lost and found section, because her hotel was over 120 rooms. Like,
Mm,
no kidding, that's a lot of rooms.
yeah.
So things would happen, and some things you're like, I ain't touching that, but you just
Yeah.
ever touch it. But yeah, it is, you can leave things. I just, we travel so light, but if you find something of value, you want to take it home. Like, I have a friend who just came back from Africa and she's like, I went with and I saw her suitcase. Oh my gosh, like her suitcase is a little bit bigger than a briefcase. I mean, that's small. And she's
Mm,
like, no, I kept everything light. It's warm out there. You hand wash it, get over it. You got
yeah.
hair dryers, Africa does
Hmm.
have hair dryers, even in the safari camps. And
Right.
she came back with treasures that nobody else has, handmade
Right.
jewelry from the Maasai and things like that, that her home is that. And you cannot, I mean, I'm sorry, a pair of jeans, unless it's from Harrods, doesn't cut it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Well,
it is,
yeah,
yeah.
pack light. Do not pack everything but and the kitchen sink because that limits what you've got. I don't mind hand washing. And I take laundry sheets, these little, it looks like a bounce sheet that you tear off a bit.
Yeah, they're
And
cool.
yeah, they're perfect. And so yeah, I absolutely do laundry as I go. And I might pack. Yeah, it's funny. I've got someone traveling, I think tomorrow. And the man was saying, okay, well, I've got 8 pairs of jeans. And I thought, 8 pairs of jeans? I've done 5 weeks with 2 pairs of jeans.
Yeah, because you can wear jeans I mean, and the best thing about wearing jeans out is you start to feel skinny because they start to stretch out, and then you're like, oh, I'm losing weight on the vacation. Then you
Yeah,
wash
so
them and you go,
it's
oh,
time to find a
I didn't.
laundromat and really get these washed. But there are laundromats as well, and you can go do self-service laundry
See,
somewhere as well.
Nancy and I are really the worst because we are on like we do parks and all of that kind of stuff. So we're a little on the dirty. Like Nancy and
Yeah,
I know, like we if you're going in the swampy areas, you're not going to want to wear jeans because it's too hot and it's not a fun thing. But
right.
we wear nurses, what do they call scrubs? And
Mhm.
they are they're the most comfortable thing. But however, ours are going off the market. So wherever we travel, I go to every Walmart or any place you can buy nurses outfits and look for this one style because the new version sucks. So it's like we're on to get nurses gear. And now they're actually selling their shoes as travel pieces because their shoes are so sturdy. And so now I'm gonna go and probably review them, I think, because that's a I mean, when you're walking the city, wouldn't you say good shoes? Like if you're gonna do London, don't think high heels and walking all
No,
day through museums.
you'll hurt yourself in heels. And I pull out my clunky old Clarks. Well, they're not old, but they are not fashionable, but I have plantar fasciitis perpetually. And so I have to wear good shoes. And I also take a pair of of tennis shoes they're slip-on Skechers. They're the only things that are truly comfortable to me. And I look like an old man. And you know what? I don't care.
Yeah.
So what? To me, it's more important. I've got to be comfortable because I'm going to be walking 10 to 20,000 steps a day,
Mm.
most days. And so I can't, I can't wear something that's super cute, whatever, because that doesn't work for me.
Well, London too, and here is the setting of London. You've got the River Thames, right? And
Yes.
that is, I mean, that's just one of the world's most iconic rivers too. And then you've got
Mhm.
uh, the Tower. Oh my, we need to talk about this because you've got Trafalgar Square. Now I've
Mhm.
been there. I know I've been there as a kid, and I always thought, oh my gosh, that's Trafalgar Square. And I bought candy there. I have vivid memories of wine gums. Sorry, I know that means nothing to anybody, but hey, listen, wine gums in England are not what you get here. Just saying. Um, Wine gums are really good.
I don't even
Just
know the words you're saying.
wine gum? Like you haven't done that? You haven't listen.
No.
Okay, next time you go to England, you need to go on a candy mission. England has the best sweets, or well, now I'm gone British, see,
Right.
candy.
Yeah.
That I mean, it is sugary goodness. Everybody must experience it. There's
Right.
things like rock, which is like a hard candy thing. It's like a big peppermint, but not necessarily peppermint, and you basically break your teeth on it, chewing on it. It's really good. Um,
Okay.
it's like, you have a peppermint cane, like a Christmas cane thing, and the little candy cane, but this is
Okay.
like a big inch thick
Okay.
tube of sugary goodness. There's
Huh.
like you can't have like French nougat. Like here, no, we don't. We call it nougat here and nugget. I don't know, whatever we call it here,
Hmm.
but oh, you can't beat that over there. Oh my gosh, this is a decadent thing. And Turkish delights. I mean, do
Hmm.
you want me to go into the world of Candyland in England? It is magical. Wine gums are like a step up, a big step up from gummy bears. Ever thinking of being a gummy bear, like any of our stuff of that? No. Easter eggs, like so Cadbury's eggs. No, Cadbury's there versus Cadbury's here. No different. I mean, no compare. Like
No
no,
comparison. Right.
no. The Cadbury egg in England is it. They
Yeah.
have that nice hard chocolate shell with the nice goopy, minty, yellow deliciousness on the center. The flake, the crunchy bar,
Yes. Yep.
even the Smarties. I mean, okay, don't. Now, this is the cruelest conversation we've ever had. This is the I mean, there's,
Oh,
um jelly tots. Have you had jelly tots yet? Oh, you
no.
must. Oh, yeah,
But
this is
I'm
really
not a,
good.
yeah. Like
Deb,
I don't know. There are other
I
things
know.
that I might want better. They do
Well, I
have
just remember
something.
this candy. I got hooked on the candy, and my dentist has never been happy with me in my life. But the
See,
candy there,
Cadbury
mm,
has, you can get this little bag and it's called caramel nibbles. And it's a little disc of chocolate with caramel on the inside. And I think the bag is nicer fans. And yeah, I would disagree with that statement. But I always bring those home. And they run about £2.50 or so each bag. But I bring home quite a few bags, and I had saved one. I'd given one to my mom. I had saved one from my dad, and then in a rough day of anyway with a lot of stuff going on, I grabbed it and it was dinner. So dad missed out on his this round, but I know, no, we had a
and he
ton.
makes
He
shepherd's
had,
pie.
well, yeah, he made himself, but no, there was a lot of other chocolate too, but the caramel nibbles did not make it to him, and they are wonderful. Just because Cadbury's just very different over there, and
It is
it's
different.
pure
I
and
can't
good.
explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and crunchy bars, there's, Mars bars. Yeah, I mean, it's just my body does not need to hear all of this, but it is delicious.
No.
If you love candy and you like chocolate and you like all those sweet treats, England is just full of it, and it's in a good way when I say
Yeah.
full of it. But I want to go back to walking off all of this conversation because this has just been a very dangerous one for my body because now um I might have to go finish that bag of M&Ms that we have. That's
Ugh.
really a
Well, because now
massive
I'm
bag.
hungry because I've been gone for 8 days or something, and my
Yeah.
groceries won't be delivered for another couple of hours. So
Oh,
there's
yeah.
really like
Well,
no,
that's it.
yeah.
I know. So anyway, I wanted to go to the River Thames and what you can experience on that because I mean, this is something very historic. Like you were saying in your blog that, there's all there's Parliament Square. There's like we were talking about Trafalgar Square, there's, all these museums, but there's some really iconic places. Westminster Abbey. When we got to
Mhm.
England, one of the first things we experienced was Lady Di getting married. And it was
Oh,
in there, and everybody, I mean, the street was shut down. Everybody was talk about the TV was on, everybody had all the trinkets in their house, it was all laid out. Like and it was actually really one of the most beautiful ceremonies. And Westminster
mm.
Abbey, I know I went there as a kid. Um,
Oh,
oh my
it's
gosh.
amazing.
Uh,
It's amazing. And I have people who tell me I'm not religious. I have no interest in it. And I said, well, go for the architecture. Give it a
right.
chance for that because it really is, it's such an iconic place. And when you see the columns and it's hard to describe really. It's magnificent.
Oh, it's
There's
very
over
ornate. It's
right. And
very
there's over
ornate and
3,500 remains there,
wow.
buried and interred there, and some it's just parts of them. And so it's something I feel like it's important to see. And you get the free headset. and you can go through. They have a little highlights tour, and you can go through, breeze through, and be out in an hour. Or you can visit every room, and Mary Queen of Scots is interred there. So it's very interesting to wander through. You'll learn so much. So it's not about quote unquote going to church if you're not religious. That's really not what it's about. But then also, if you are religious and you want to experience something different, you can go to a service there. Check the times. They do have services daily, and there's no charge to go in. Of course, you can't wander around after, but it gives you a little peek of it if that's enough for you. I attended a communion service there with one of my daughters, and I'll never forget it. It was just really special. So it was, it was something neat to participate in. So
I don't think you need to be of, that. I mean, just personally, I think it's something special no matter what your beliefs are, right? And it's part of travel is to put yourself in other people's spiritual and cultural placements in life, what they believe in, and to experience it, because it fosters understanding. And whether or not spiritually you agree or not, when you go in, it's like something to be respected, and that respect line is so important. And you realize that people really do just want good in life. I mean, yes, we have the crazy criminals, and like Jack the Ripper of London, right, from historic times, bringing that up, right? And I know that's something you can really go and experience too. But
that's a very unique evening tour, and a little creepy, but I've done it several times, and you get such a feel for what things were like in the late 1800s, and why, these were prostitutes who went missing and were killed. And why were they in prostitution? It's easy to sit back and go, well, they just made really bad life choices. Yeah, not so much. It is a very interesting tour, and I highly recommend that one. If and they do show some gory pictures that you can look at or not. I tend to look away because I don't like a lot of things in my brain that are creepy. But
yeah, she's not sleeping after that porn star martini and Jack the Ripper in the same night. That's not happening.
No. But it is very interesting. And then they all the guides have their theory on who they think it was. And so they'll ask you, and you can kind of tell who they think, is it, so I'm not going to give that away either, but it is something that's unique to do a Jack the Ripper evening tour.
Wow. There's so much. There's so much in London. The Tower of London, that's the one thing I want to close with, because I know that that's something very dear to you. And it's something that you go to. And I remember talking with you, and then Glenn Burr was on the show once, and I said, what's going on with the Tower of London? Because this is he's like, it's a big deal. This is an ancient tradition. And if you're in London, you must experience it, just like you said. So please tell everybody about what goes on at the Tower of London that people must experience.
So it dates back over 1,000 years. And it's been
she says that so flippantly, like, it's only 1,000 years ago.
No, I mean, it's amazing.
That's intense. Yeah.
And I didn't go my first 3 or 4 times. I had not gone to London. My first 3 or 4 times to London, I had not visited the tower. Didn't have time, didn't really have that much interest in it until I went the first time. And then I thought, oh, now I get it. It sits right on the Thames. And so that's an interesting thing as well. The crown jewels are housed there. And so as soon as you get in, what I recommend to people, if you're going the first of the day, go immediately get in line to see the crown jewels. And they are guarded so much. If you even thought about thinking, could I put my fist through and grab it, you would not survive that attempt. They are highly guarded. The ravens, that's a big deal. The ravens that live there as well live on the grounds.
Cool.
Yeah. The beef eaters will give tours, and those are free. That's included with your entrance, and they really bring it to life. And I've seen families go through with kids of all ages, and these beef eaters are theatrical often, and so they bring it to life. So you're not dragging your kids to some 1,000-year-old building that the kids are going to be bored. This is the kids' playground. They're going to absolutely love it, because you go in all these different towers. It's spread out. And so you go in and you can experience what it was like, these cells and these areas. And then you hear about people who were executed there, including a pair of young brothers. And so, I mean, there's just a lot of history there that's very important. But one of my favorite things, and I tell all my clients about it, and I usually stay up all night trying to get them tickets, is every night they have an official closing of the Tower of London, and it's called the Ceremony of the Keys. And being British, of course, it's pomp and circumstance because it's what they're all about. And so it's very difficult to get tickets. So they go on sale. So August 1st, tickets would have gone on sale for all of September. And they are sold out usually within 6 hours. And so I wake up at between 4 and 5 o'clock in Texas and start refreshing my browser because they're not specific on when they go on sale. It's just noon-ish on the 1st in the UK. And so the cost is low. It's £5 or £6 a ticket. And so I usually will just gift these to my clients. But you can buy 6 at a time. And so in December, I'm going to have a time where I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people in London at the same time at the same hotel. Traveling separately, but I want to be sure to get tickets for all of them. So that may take a little coordination with some other travel advisor friends. But you show up and we have a whole thing, reservations at a next door restaurant that's fantastic and also has the best sticky toffee pudding in the world. And then you go over for the Ceremony of the Keys, and this is they tell you how it's going to be done and how they lock it up and close it. And it's just really a unique experience that last time I happened to have 2 extra tickets and I saw these 2 gals walk by and I said, hey, do you want to, she kind of looked like what's going on here? And I said, I have 2 extra tickets if you want to stay. And it was right when we were walking in and they came in and she said, we didn't read about this in any of the guidebooks. We planned our own trip. And I said, it's something you don't know about.
You didn't know Cheryl. You don't know Cheryl.
Exactly. Well, you don't know what you don't know. And so I was so grateful that I was able to give them that experience. They were just in awe. I tell people it's a once in a lifetime experience, but I've done it like 5 times now.
Yeah. I know that you were saying that someone didn't understand the value of it, and you're like, oh, you are so missing out if you go to your hotel room and don't
for some people they say, no, I don't want to do that. It's it's too late at night, and it is late. It's a late evening. It starts at 9:30. You need to be there at 9:15. And if you miss it when they close the gates, you've missed it. And so I recently had one client who I had gotten him tickets and he said I couldn't find the entrance. And so he missed it. And I just hated that for him because he's such a history buff and he would have loved it. But things happen and it
that's
is
travel. Travel, travel really makes you understand what you know and love. And in closing, I know because man, we've had a good conversation here, man. This is a good time here. I do want to bring this up though, because I know London was one of your first, excursions out in life of traveling, internationally. And what do you think? I mean, having traveled a bit in the States and everything, but going overseas and then starting with what you've done now, here you are helping everybody travel. And obviously, you got the bug and have learned your way around and studied. And, you've got all the courses and credentials and all of that stuff, which actually is quite a lot of work because you're talking internationally, right? And understanding different languages and different cultures and laws. That's another thing. But when you start going out to places like London that you would never have thought that you would have done, or even the Tower of London, once you've stepped over that and out of your comfort zone of thinking what you knew, now do you know more about yourself by putting yourself in these newer circumstances? Does that make sense? Like,
100% yes. And I read a quote not too terribly long ago about, I guess I'll jump in and say one pet peeve is when people say that's weird. And I cannot tolerate that in travel. Some things are weird in your life, but other countries are not weird and they do things differently. And that's okay. It's supposed to be different. And so a quote I recently read is that other countries were not made to make you comfortable. They were made to make their own people comfortable. And so get out of your comfort zone. You may be uncomfortable. It's not weird. It's different. And you'll either love traveling internationally or you'll do one trip and say, I am never leaving the USA again. And that's okay too. It's not for everyone. It's better to stay than to be grumpy and complaining.
I absolutely agree because it's like, when you listen to music, like Other people may not like Rod Stewart, and you'll go like, what's wrong
What?
with you? Nothing. I know, see, but it's not. It's like everybody has their cup of tea. Like,
Right.
what I like, and I'll sit and listen to AC/DC in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So it's everybody's a little different, and that's
Mhm.
good. Otherwise, we have
Exactly.
nothing to learn from each other if
What
we're
a
all
what
the
a
same.
boring place if we were all the same.
I know, and it's so good to, like we were talking about going to Westminster Abbey. No matter what your beliefs are, your spiritual beliefs. I go to all kinds of churches and
Hmm.
cathedrals and mosques, and I find value and life lessons in all of them. I don't
Absolutely.
particularly believe in everybody's different things on it, but there's a life lesson I always learn from every
Right.
single one. I've something that I learned that I go, huh, I should
Right.
incorporate more of this into my life.
Well, absolutely. We need to have better conversations about why why we believe what we believe. And I don't just mean religion. I mean,
Hmm.
everything is we need to have grown-up conversations and know where we stand, know who we are, and learn from others. What makes you tick? And
Yeah.
I appreciate that when you and Nancy come visit, we have those conversations and we sit around the table way too late talking
Oh,
about
you
every
you have the
topic.
kitchen table, which is very
I
South
know.
African. That was how I grew up, like the
Yeah,
kitchen table. It's
yeah.
either tea or wine. And that's
Tea
how it
for me,
was.
wine for y'all. But
Yeah, I know. But
but
it was
we can
always
learn
tea.
so much.
You know,
Yeah.
when something happens, everybody gathered around the kitchen and there's always a kitchen table. I mean, I think I think we need more kitchen tables. Like, dining room, kitchen table, but like not the formal dining room table. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the one where a friend comes in crying because her boyfriend's gone or something, whatever.
Mhm.
You sit down, you put the kettle on. You don't even say, do you want tea? You just put it on. And
Right.
you sit down, and no one's judging each other about makeup running from crying or anything
Yep.
stupid like that. It is,
Exactly.
let's just be there. And
Mhm.
things get better. It's like as soon as that kettle goes on, everybody, I don't know, there's something about the tea kettle that I know it's very British, probably, but I mean, that was it. It was always a kettle.
I
And
love my kettle.
I know the kettle. It's like it
Yeah.
is I don't know, it's this iconic, it's almost like a talking stick of, hey, all right, this is what's going down. We're gonna sort this. We're gonna sort, like that's what Melissa says, sort this, not sort this out, sort this. We're gonna
Yep.
sort this. We're gonna take care of it now. And we're gonna have a really good chat about, we're gonna catch up. And it doesn't matter how many cups of tea we have,
Right.
or wine. And maybe we will have sandwiches and maybe we will have sticky toffee pudding. That's okay. In adult conversations, you are allowed to have sweet treats. You're allowed.
Of
Um,
course. Of course. It cancels the calories out, I think.
yeah, yeah. But and talking, by the way, we're using a lot of muscles and laughter. We use a ton. So the more we
Well,
smile and
there's
laugh,
a
the
lot of
better.
therapy in gathering around together and sharing experiences. And we grow from each other, and that's just so important.
Yeah. And travel does that. Travel makes you step out of bounds, or your
Mhm.
bounds, your own boundaries
Yep.
and understand that, what, the only boundaries really are what we put on. And of course, we have to have passports and stuff. That's what Cheryl helps you with. Um, and, you have to have those things, which I wish we didn't even have to. I'm one of these people that just wish we didn't even have to have, I understand that everybody will get mad at me, but I just wish we could just all just get along and travel. You
I
know what I
know.
mean? And I think the
Me
more we,
too. My covered glasses. And then we've got visas that are coming in 2024, but that's for another conversation.
mm, we
So
should definitely talk about that. We have to do a
yes,
paperwork call for sure. Well, Cheryl, always a pleasure having you on the
pleasure
show.
too.
Miss Nancy says hi. Um,
Yes,
Everyone, heywannago.com is the website for Cheryl. Her blog is on there, also her upcoming trips and cruises. She has group travel things that she does that are amazing. And of course, keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. Cheryl's here every third Wednesday. We always have a great time. And you take care, Cheryl. We'll see you soon and talk to you soon.
sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you all for listening.